Hi, I'm Fred Jensen. I'm the product manager for PowerLog, and today we're going to talk about PowerLog 9.7.1, an exciting new release, and I really am, excited about it. And we're going to talk about a new filter tool. The filter tool will eventually replace the query tool, but we're going to leave them both there for now. But it's in tools, and it's called data filters. And the data filters is really an amazing new filter tool that allows you to filter logs and go into your project and find the data that you want and need to do analysis. So let's start with just the basics. We have functions, and you have the ability to select, intersect, union, and difference. And you probably will always start with select, the first filter. And then you say, what am I going to select? Well, I'm going to select wells. And what am I going to select wells from? Well, I'm going to select wells from a well list. And that's nice. And then I'm going to put the results in result 1. And so I can actually run this, and you see I get a list of wells that have curves. And so you say, well, that's really cool. But I could also put conditions on it. I could say, well, I want wells that I want to focus on curves, and I want a name that's equal to, let's say row B. And I want to filter on well tops that has a name, and that is equal to F1WC. All right, so now I'm going to do a new filter. And then I'll do, that'll be enough for now. And then I run it. And it's going to go through, and it's going to search through the list of wells and apply the conditions. And I get a list of wells that have, and what I know about these wells now is that they have a row B curve, and they have an F1. So that's pretty useful. But you can get a lot more sophisticated. I'm going to go ahead and recall a screen, because you can save and recall screens. And I'm going to demonstrate a couple of complex screens. So here's the first complex screen we're going to demonstrate. Now here we're going to go through, and we're going to select zone parameters. Now it's important to understand what happens when you select zone parameters. So to facilitate that, I'll go ahead and just select zone parameters. Okay, and where the zone parameters equal to hydrocarbon pore volume. So I'm just going to get a list of zone parameters that equal hydrocarbon pore volume. And it's going to go through and give me a list of the zone parameters. So there's a parameter. Now you'll notice that the wells the zones are appearing twice, and the wells are appearing twice. And if I had more zone parameters, so this is literally a filter on zone parameters. So that's interesting. You can filter on anything like that. Now, if I go back into my screen, I'm going back and searching for data created, my complex screen. I've searched for zone parameters. I'm going to explain this and then show what it's doing. And once again, the conditions were hydrocarbon pore volume. Then I'm going to go through and do a selection and say, I want to get a list of wells from that. And what that does is it goes to that list of zone parameters and pulls out the unique wells. Notice I'm searching from this result. So I'm cascading the results of the previous filter into my current filter. And then I'm going to select well zones from result 2, where it's equal to F2. So now I want to further filter this and only look at my F2 zones. And then I'm going to select wells from result 3. So now they're going to contain all the previous requirements, plus they're also going to have an alias that's delta T. So I'm going to have a sonic curve. And they're also going to be wells contained in deviation surveys. So let me list all the requirements I'm putting on here. So we're saying it's got to have a hydrocarbon pore volume zone parameter. It's go well with the hydrocarbon pore volume zone parameter. It's got to have an F2 zone, so it's got to have the parameter in that zone, and it's got to have a delta T, and it's got to be deviated. And then I'm going to intersect the results from the list of wells, and that will give me the list of wells that have all those conditions. That sounds complicated because it is. And that ends up giving me 3 wells. And I know these 3 wells have a hydrocarbon pore volume. They have a zone, an F2 zone. They have a sonic curve, and they're deviated. And that's an example of a complex filter. Now I'm going to show one more complex filter. And I'm not doing this just to make y'all go, holy moly, you can build some complicated filters. But indeed, you can build complicated filters. In another video, we'll be discussing our new Python extensions. And I built a Python extension that cross-plotted zone parameters with multiple wells. So I cross-plotted 162 zone parameters, and I cross-plotted average porosity versus hydrocarbon pore volume. And I had points at 0, 0, and I wanted to get rid of those. So I wanted to make a filter, and this was this morning. I want to get rid of those 0, 0 points. So I thought to myself, can I build a filter to do that? And it was an intellectual challenge. So we're going to start off. We're going to select zone parameters, rho B, from the wells with rho B, F1, F2, and we're going to make sure they have an average fee pay, because that was the zone parameter that was at 0. Right, and that's the average porosity, so it had no pay. And then I'm going to, from that selection, I'm going to filter when the value of that average fee pay is less than 0.02. So if it's less than 0.02, I'm going to select it. Now I'm going to select wells from result 2 and put them in result 3. Because remember, we're only seeing zone parameters here. We're not seeing the wells. So now I'm selecting the wells from result and putting in result 3. And then the last conditions are, I want to make sure that I'm selecting wells from rho B, F1 that are in F2. Because what I want to do is I want to take my group of wells, rho B, F1, F2, and I want to subtract out the wells that don't have any porosity. I don't want to look at them in my cross plot. So I then say, okay, I'm subtracting from the group of wells F1, F2, all the wells that don't have any porosity in the zone of interest. I believe it doesn't matter because I'll go filter it later. But in the F1 and F2, the zone parameter is less than 0.02, and I'm doing a difference, so I'm subtracting result 4 minus result 3. And what that does is it gives me a list of all the wells that have rho B, F1, and F2, but it's missing the wells that don't have any porosity in either the F1 or the F2 zone. That sounds complicated. It is complicated, but it gives you an example of the queries that you can build in PowerLog. I think you can get the message that you can build some amazingly detailed queries in the new filter tool with PowerLog 9.7.1. And I thank you for your time.